For even those people old enough to remember segregation, it's not possible to fully comprehend that human beings were bought and sold. But that was the reality when Bass Reeves was born in about 1838. Because his mother was a slave, Bass was given the name of his owner, William Still Reeves of Crawford County, Arkansas. He moved with the Reeves family to the area of Denison, Grayson County, Texas in 1846. Bass Reeves lived as an uneducated slave until the start of the Civil War, when it was believed that he accompanied his master's son George to duty, serving as his valet. Reeves County, Texas is named for Colonel George R. Reeves, who fought for the Confederacy under General Benjamin McCulloch, commander of the Indian Territory. Sometime during the war, either due to an argument between Bass Reeves and Colonel Reeves, or because news of the Emancipation Proclamation had reached his ears, Bass freed himself by escaping into Indian Territory. He lived among the Creek and Seminole tribes, learning to live off the land, honing the skills of sneaking up on his prey. By 1870, Bass Reeves was back in Crawford County, farming with a wife and the first 4 of his 10 children. He was first engaged with the U.S. Marshals to help deputies track and capture criminals wanted by the federal court for the Western District of Arkansas, which was based in Van Buren before moving to Fort Smith in 1871. In 1875, Judge Isaac C. Parker was appointed federal judge of the Western District. Parker's first order of business was to appoint James S. Fagan as U.S. Marshal, instructing him to hire a large force of deputy marshals to cover the vast jurisdiction of the court, which included the Indian Territories. With his knowledge of the territories and the ability to speak several of its languages, Bass Reeves was named a deputy U.S. Marshal. In an age when the average height of a man was 5.5 feet tall, Bass Reeves was a towering figure at 6 foot 2 inches. Yet stories tell of his ability to disguise himself, slump in the saddle to appear smaller, even dress as a woman in order to catch the criminals he was chasing. Being a crack shot with either hand wasn't a bad skill to have either. Because he could neither read nor write, Reeves memorized his arrest warrants and was never known to arrest the wrong man. For all the 21 years Judge Parker presided in Fort Smith, Bass Reeves served as one of the most valuable deputy marshals, combing the 75,000 square mile jurisdiction that includes most of the present-day Oklahoma. In all of the service of the U.S. Marshals, a startling number of those killed in the line of duty died in this dangerous frontier. In newspaper accounts at the time of his death, it was noted that Reeves had never been wounded, although at different times his belt was shot in two, a button shot off his coat, his hat brim shot off, and the bridle reins which he held in his hands cut by a bullet. Bass continued as deputy marshal until retiring in 1907 at the age of 69. In his career, he arrested more than 3,000 felons and killed 14 men. Bass Reeves himself was tried and acquitted of killing a cook in his posse. In 1907, Bass Reeves lived in Muskogee, Oklahoma, and was serving as a municipal police officer when he died in 1910 at the age of 72. The Muskogee Phoenix newspaper contains the longest known written record of his life and extolled his character in several stories at the time of his death. Even at a time when African Americans suffered from the bigotry and lesser regard, the language of his 1910 obituary implies Reeves was shown respect. Bass Reeves, Negro, was buried yesterday, and the funeral was attended by a large number of white people, men who in the early days knew the old deputy marshal and admired him as a faithful officer and respected him as an honest man. Bass Reeves was a unique character, absolutely fearless and knowing no master but duty. The placing of a writ in his hand for service meant that the letter of the law would be fulfilled, though his life paid the penalty. In the carrying out of his orders during his 32 years as Deputy United States Marshal in the old Indian Territory days, Bass Reeves faced death 100 times. Many desperate characters sought his life, yet the old man, even on the brink of his grave, went along the pathway of duty with the simple faith that some men have who believe that they are in the care of a special providence when they are doing right. Bass is dead. He was buried with high honors, and his name will be recorded in the archives of the courts as a faithful servant of the law and a brave officer. And it was fitting that such recognition was bestowed upon this man. It was fitting that, black or white, our people have the manhood to recognize character and faithfulness to duty. And it is lamentable that we as white people must go to this poor, simple old Negro to learn a lesson in courage, honesty, and faithfulness to official duty. His burial was recorded in Agency Cemetery in Muskogee, but the location of his grave is unknown. Though this monument honors Bass Reeves, it can also serve to represent the other black men who worked for the federal court for the Western District of Arkansas, starting with George Winston, a black court bailiff who predated Parker and served him for 18 years. Other African Americans who served the court are Rufus Cannon, Bill Colbert, Neely Factory, Robert Fortune, John Garrett, Grant Johnson, Zeke Miller, Crowder Nix, and Ike Rogers.